Well, friends, there's a famous quotation of Dr. Henry Kissinger goes like this, that no international order can be just if cooperation with the aim to raise the poorest in the world to the decent standard of living is not one of its basic principles. Good morning, everybody. We start the debate on globalization and passage of economic internationalism to economic nationalism to economic internationalism at the backdrop of this statement made by Dr. Henry Kissinger. Ever since the time of European exposition as well as exploration to the other parts of the globe, there have been some kind of international trade, and international trade has always been a part of international relation from time immemorial. And but the question is how to structure the international economic system. So, world over, all the states have been confronted with the dilemma, and there have always been two schools of thought or two views, as you can see over here. One is that whether commerce should be regulated according to the principle of mercantilism, and all of you are well aware what is mercantilism. Mercantilism stands for state controlled trade, where the benefit would accrue to the state, to the national exchequer. And mercantilism as a economic practice, it also coincided with the growth of European nation state system, where the benefit of economic activity, international trade, that went to the national exchequer or to the treasury. And on the other hand, there was another school of thought which was also doing the round and also later on became more acceptable and more practicable. That was, should commerce be free, relatively free to serve the interests of individual enterprises? And as this was a school of thought which was propagated by Adam Smith, that let commerce be free, let there be free trade which will benefit one and all. This debate between mercantilism as well as free trade never ceased, or there was never a last word as far as whether international systems should be based upon mercantilism or on free trade. There could never be a last word on it. But the fact remained that gradually the process of free trade or the stand of free trade came to have more takers than mercantilism. But when Adam Smith, he advocated the system of free trade, he also pointed out that this should benefit one and all in the society as well as in the economic system, in the international trade system. But the fact remained that free trade never remained actually free, because it was also coupled with lot of national restrictions. And at the same time, free trade, which became a part of European practice as well as which became a part of colonial system, it only benefited the colonial rulers. Okay. So, the benefit of free trade was flowing to all the colonial countries in Europe. So, eventually the post World War economic structure somewhat resembled like this. That was, as I have put it, Western system of interdependence, North-South system of dependence, East-West system of independence. Can you tell me what is Western system of interdependence?
Organization where they have economic ties with each other to foster economic growth and like for example, the European Union where blocks depend on there are blocks of countries which depend on each other economically as
Yes, you all are aware of the post-war economic structure which emerged. USA emerged as a very economically powerful and politically powerful country. At the same time, US occupation of Japan also built up the strength of Japan in terms of Japan converting into a democratic as well as an industrially advanced country. Apart from that, you are also aware of the fact that the notion of Europe as a civilization also goes beyond European continent. The European way of life or European system is also seen in Australia as well as in the other parts of the continent, that is in North America. So, these industrially developed countries, they came together and they fostered the notion of free trade amongst themselves. So, the free trade system worked very well to the advantage of these countries both ways. Okay. So, the advantage of free trade under Western system of interdependence was not unilateral. So, if you say that under the Western system of interdependence 3 to 4 countries came together like USA, Japan, Australia, England, they all benefited from the tariff system as well as the free trade economic system that they adopted. And the policy, any change in policy in a domestic government had its repercussion in other countries as well, which were part of this Western system of interdependence. So, this was one type of economic structure which emerged after the Second World War and which was beneficial to the countries, economically beneficial. And the other system which also emerged at the same time simultaneously was North-South system of dependence. North, the countries which are developed, industrially advanced, and South, the countries which have just got their independence and they have started a process of economic development and nation building. The countries which have just embarked upon the process of nation building by way of bringing about economic development. How will they do it? They did it by adopting two procedure or two method. One, all of them, all the countries starting from India to a number of other developing newly emergent countries in Asia, they went in for a system of public economy or national economy, state regulated economy. At the same time, they were also heavily dependent upon economic aid from the advanced countries, heavily dependent upon technology also, transfer of technology from advanced countries. So, this was a system of north-south dependence, and the state regulated economy also had its own fallouts, like there was, for the sake of technology, for the sake of setting up industries, since there were lot of external borrowing and you know the inherent characteristics of public sector organizations, that gradually led to lot of borrowing and lot of tax, lot of burden, financial burden on the part of the state. And the states continue to be dependent upon the industrially advanced countries, either to pay off for the losses, and that is why I kept on saying in my previous classes that in such a system there is a balance of payment crisis, which means that the net inflow is far less than the net outflow, or rather the other way around, net outflow exceeds the net inflow. So, this was the system of north-south dependence. Then there was another system which was also part of economic structure, that is east-west system of independence. As you all know, by that time post Second World War, the world had become bipolar, and this is it reflected in the creation of a east-west economic system. So, the eastern part, Eastern European countries, they were not a part of the free trade system with the Western blocs. So, that also created a divide. That also amounted to the fact that the Eastern European countries forever languished within their economic system, which was controlled by Soviet Union. So, the economic system manifested in these forms, and that was also coupled with the global recession in 1970s and 78. This had two repercussions. One was it led to some kind of an uprising, if you can use the term, or some kind of a demand in the forum of United Nations to make a call for new international economic order. Mind you, we are trying to trace the passage of economic nationalism towards economic internationalism, which ultimately resulted in advent of globalization. So, this particular resolution of General Assembly, resolution number 3171, goes into the annals of history as one of the first movement towards establishment of a just economic order, because no economic order can neglect the needs of the poor or can neglect the aspirations of all the countries, newly emergent countries. So, the resolution in General Assembly led to the declaration, or led to passing of a declaration which is known as a call for new international order. And the new international order, economic order, came up with a number of principles. The principles which were put forth through the declaration of new international economic order were sovereign equality of all states, rights of all states to bring about their economic development, as well as through the declaration they also claimed that since there have been so many years of exploitation as far as the economic resources are concerned, as far as the economic resources of the colonial countries are concerned, the developed, industrially developed countries are under the obligation to bring about the economic development, or to look into the economic development of other nations. And the member nations in the General Assembly went to the extent of saying that 1% of the GDP of all the industrially developed countries should be transferred to the developing as well as underdeveloped countries and should be spent for their economic development. Although the proposal or the claim for establishment of new international economic order never saw the light of the day, but the fact remained that it had a great symbolic value. The symbolic value was that the time for the underdeveloped and developing countries in terms of their claim for economic development has already come. And the next step was taken up by the Bretton Woods conference, Bretton Woods institutions. This is also otherwise known as neoliberal approach to development. Neoliberal approach to development. Can you tell me what are the Bretton Woods conferences? And World Bank. And in what way did they contribute to the formation of neoliberal approach to development? Any idea?